Religious trauma doesn't just affect your beliefs, it reshapes your body, your mind, your relationships, and how you see yourself in the world. The journey of healing isn't just about breaking free from the chains of indoctrination, but learning how to walk in true spiritual, emotional, and intellectual sovereignty. And yet, even within the so called conscious community, we see a painful truth. Many of us are still walking in the same wounds we thought we left behind, unhealed, reactive, and at times mirroring the very systems we claim to resist. It's time to go deeper, to look at the psychological effects of religious trauma, to understand how healing changes every aspect of our lives, and to address the blind spots within our own decolonization and deconstruction journeys. Because the true liberation isn't just about breaking free, it's about healing what was broken. Healing what was broken is so important so that we don't become the very thing we once despised. Let's start with the facts. Trauma is not just a memory, it's an imprint on the body, the nervous system. When exposed to long-term religious conditioning based in fear, shame, and submission, becomes wired to expect danger. Some of you grew up hearing that questioning authority was rebellion, that thinking for yourself was dangerous, that your own intuition, your own power were evil. This creates a trauma response. Many people who leave high control religious environments develop similar or symptoms similar to PTSD, hypervigilance, anxiety, difficulty trusting their own decisions, and a deep fear of being wrong. And if that's not addressed, it follows you into your relationships, into your self worth, into how you show up in the world. Religious trauma is more than just spiritual abuse, it's psychological, emotional, and even physical. It affects how your brain processes information, how your body holds stress, and how you either seek or avoid community. And this is why healing is not optional, beloved. Because if we don't address the trauma, we'll continue to operate in the world through a wounded lens, reacting instead of responding, fearing instead of trusting, existing instead of truly living our best lives. Religious institutions taught us to be sheep, to follow, to obey without question, even in school, following all the rules. And when we wake up from that, there's a moment of terror. If I'm not a sheep, then who am I? What do I believe? How do I navigate the world without being told what to do? Now, the moment you begin to have those thoughts and feel those feelings, that is what your soul desires, even when it feels shaky. This is the moment of rebirth. When you step into your own authority, when you realize that liberation is not about finding a new shepherd, it's about realizing you never needed one in the first place. True spiritual, emotional, and intellectual independence means you no longer outsource your power. You trust yourself, your own intuition, your own inner knowing and guidance. You critically engage with ideas without fear. You no longer operate from a place of guilt or shame. And most importantly, you redefine your relationship with the divine on your terms. This is power. But let's talk about the shadow side. Because just because you leave the church doesn't mean the church has left you. And I'm not talking about God. I'm talking about the patterns, the dogma, the conditioning that many still carry even in so-called conscious spaces. I have to say this, beloved. Some of the most unhealed, broken, and toxic individuals I've seen are in the conscious community. And I'm saying this from a place of love. Just because you rejected the church and religious dogma and indoctrination doesn't mean you've healed from the wounds it left on you. Many in this space think because they've deconstructed religion, they've done the work, but they are still walking in trauma responses. They're still operating from pain, and that pain, it shows up in how they engage with one another. And one another's how we engage, it shows up harsh, insensitive, even disrespectful. They claim to be teaching, but in reality, they're lashing out. And instead of healing, they've just simply switched one dogma for another. If your colonization, or should I say decolonization, comes at the expense of compassion, you're not decolonized. I'm going to say it again. If your decolonization comes at the expense of your compassion, you're not decolonized. If your deconstruction makes you just as oppressive, just as controlling, and just as dismissive as the system you left, then, beloved, you haven't healed. You've only transformed the trauma. Well, should I say, many have only just transferred the trauma, not transformed it yet. My dear friends, we have to hold ourselves accountable because if we are not careful, we will become the very thing we once fought against. Healing isn't just for them, it's for us too. It's a lifelong journey. So, what's the solution, my friend? How do we truly heal beyond religious trauma, beyond indoctrination, beyond reactionary cycles? First, we need to do the inner work. We don't just deconstruct, we rebuild. We learn to regulate our nervous systems. We unlearn toxic beliefs. We cultivate spaces of true healing. And we move forward and move from reaction to creation. Second, we engage with one another from a place of love, not just information. You cannot wake people up by yelling at them, degrading them, demeaning them. You cannot lead people into healing by shaming them. And if your mission is to liberate, then why berate your fellow human being? Hear me closely, beloved, when I say this. If you're a conscious leader, if your mission is to liberate, then you must first be liberated yourself. And finally, we keep our hearts open. We remember that healing is a lifelong journey, that we are all evolving day by day, that the work is never done, and that our power is not in how much we know, but in how much we are able to embody. The rebirth of the sacred feminine is not just about dismantling oppression. It's about healing the wounds it left behind. And in that healing, we find something greater than freedom. We find wholeness. Beloved, I encourage you, keep healing, keep growing, keep glowing and growing. And most importantly, keep your heart open. This has been another powerful and impactful session, an episode of the Sankofa Sessions podcast with your host, Chief Apostle Veronica Israel, High Priestess, Global Spiritual Leader, and founder of the Soul Awakening Sanctuary. This is the podcast where we take you back into the records of our glorious past to get clarity and perspective on our collective bright future. If this message has resonated with you, do us a favor and engage. Like, comment, share, repost, and let's continue the conversation. And if you love this work, support us by making a financial contribution today. We are breaking the chains, we are reclaiming our power, and nothing will ever be able to stop us. As always, remember, you are powerful, you are creative, and you are the epitome of the divine consciousness that created the universe. You are God in flesh having a human experience. And never let anyone, any ideology or philosophy tell you otherwise. Until next time, stay free. Keep moving. I love you all. Peace be with you.